You're watching Saturday Anime on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Greetings, this is Reverend Paul, this is Studio Chojin Raw. Today we're going to be talking about Golden Boy, and let's just get right to it, shall we? So, Golden Boy is a 6-part OVA series that came out in 1995, and it's based off of the manga that was created by Tatsuya Egawa and ran in Super Jump from 1992 to 1997. Golden Boy has to be the definitive anime sex comedy, and Golden Boy is about a character named Kintaro. He's pretty much like a law school dropout, and he's dropped out of law school and he is traveling Japan, taking odd jobs, and he's trying to learn as much as he can. Kintaro is also bumbling and he's kind of stupid, but he's also like secretly really smart. I mean, he's actually almost kind of like a superhero because even though he's really not good at things, he picks things up super quickly. He can go to a business like a software company, know nothing about the software, but immediately in a couple of days, he'll become an expert programmer. Like a superhero or a traveling samurai, Kintaro is traveling Japan, working for these small businesses and helping them out. And another thing I should probably mention about Kintaro is that he is a hot chick magnet. Every business he works for is either just full of hot chicks or there's at least one hot chick in the vicinity. If you're a fucking schlubby fat guy with a failing business, you're out of luck. If you have a business that only employs dudes, Kintaro can't help you. You're on your own, okay? There's nothing to be learned by helping a fucking schlubby fat dude. The only thing we can learn is you better hire some fucking hot chicks. Kintaro is kind of like a guardian angel for hot chicks, where he kind of swoops in and he helps them with their problems, he helps their businesses run better, and then he kind of moves on to the next thing. So that's pretty much the setup for the entire show. And all the comedy of the show is a result of all the different situations Kintaro finds himself in. In the first episode, Kintaro starts working for a software company. And the software company is employed entirely by hot chicks. Like, this is the most awesome software company around, and the president of the software company is the fucking coolest chick of all time. She fucking drives a 1992 Ferrari F40. She wears these fucking tight, like what is that, like spandex? Like what kind of, like, is it rubber? Like what kind of suit does Madam President wear? But she wears this, I don't know, leather outfit with her nipples hanging out and her boobs defy gravity. Madam President in Golden Boy is like the fucking coolest character of all time. She has gravity defying boobs and drives the coolest fucking car. She's the head of this company and she hires Kintaro to work there, and they're trying to develop this software for the American like movie industry. And Golden Boy is similar to Mad Bull 34 in the respects that there are some things that don't really make a lot of sense, but they're awesome. There's one part in the first episode where Golden Boy is in like the locker room and he's watching all the female employees change, and it's like, okay, why does a software company have a locker room where these women are changing? Are they working up a sweat writing out all that code? Who the fuck knows, and who the fuck cares? We're here to see fucking hot chicks, and the show fucking delivers, and it's awesome. And Kintaro's reactions are hysterical. The way he sells it, the way he's this sort of like super horny dude that just like fucking loses his mind at the thought of like seeing a naked chick, that's what makes this show so great. It's the way he reacts to these things. One of the reoccurring things you see in the show is this kind of toilet gag where Kintaro is cleaning a toilet and then is imagining the hot chick's ass that was previously on the toilet. So then he starts rubbing his face on the fucking toilet, and then sure as shit, the chick shows up right behind him. And this happens, this is a recurring gag throughout the fucking show, and it's hysterical every fucking time. This is kind of an aside, but it does seem like a recurring job Kintaro always seems to get is he's either like the janitor cleaning toilets or he's the cook making dinner. And that just seems like a combination that just should not happen, where it's like, wait a minute, so this dude is either like elbow deep in like toilet water or he's fucking chopping up celery. It's like, okay, you know, cook slash janitor. I mean, that's a odd combination. I don't know, maybe it happens a lot. Seems a little gross, but I digress. Now, I mentioned earlier that Golden Boy is sort of the definitive anime sex comedy. The humor in here is so fucking dirty and so ridiculous, and it does not disappoint. One of my favorite gags is in the second episode where Kintaro is tutoring this political candidate's daughter, and then she's holding his hand and leading him into her bedroom, and then he's just thinking about how soft her hand is and how like good her soft hand would feel on other parts of his body, and then his hand turns into a dick. It's like, this is so ridiculous. There's also tons of like nipples protruding through tight clothes, which is awesome. Now with that said, Golden Boy Boy certainly delivers on the sophomoric humor and the fan service. But underneath it all, I do think there is a soul to Golden Boy. And I think this is apparent in a couple of episodes. The first episode that comes to mind is the third episode. Golden Boy takes a job at an udon shop, and Noriko, the daughter of the owner of the udon shop, she is a typical girl who is trying to start her life. She wants to get married and start a family and embark on that journey that is one's life. And over the course of the episode, we find out that the guy she's interested in is actually a piece of shit. And Golden Boy reveals this information to her. And the girl has this kind of breakdown where she starts to realize that the life she envisioned for herself isn't going to happen, and she has to kind of take an alternate path. I think that's the core of what the series is about. I mean, aside from the etchiness and the fan service, if we're going to find a subtext to the series, I think the series is about disconnecting from the status quo, where we all look at our lives and we all have a set way in which we think our lives are supposed to work. But in reality, if we were to just kind of veer a little bit to the left, or veer a little bit to the right, we would find a completely different way of looking at things, and we would find much more happiness. And I think this idea is encapsulated in that third episode, where the life Noriko has set for herself, even though it's the life she had planned for herself, it is not the life that is going to bring her happiness. And there's also a very poignant scene there where Noriko and Kintaro are talking, and then Noriko starts laughing about everything that happened, and then she starts to cry. And then she's trying to kind of confess her love for Golden Boy, but it's a vulnerable moment. I never get the impression that Noriko is necessarily in love with Golden Boy. It's just that he is there for her in this vulnerable moment when she needs somebody. And Kintaro's purpose on Noriko's journey is just to point her in the right direction. And I think this concept is also again illustrated in the swimming episode, where Kintaro gets a job working at a swim school. And the head coach of the swim school is a woman named Ayuko, and she's the best swimmer around. She's a former Olympic gold medalist, and she's a prolific swimmer, and she's a great swim instructor. And Golden Boy challenges her. He challenges her to a swimming race. And since, Golden Boy obviously is not a very good swimmer at the start, they agree to give him a month to train and tell him he could work at the swim school in the meantime, and thus begins the story. And then we start to find out over the course of the episode that even though Ayuko is a prolific swimmer, she's not really the best teacher. Her teaching methods aren't really that great for acclimating kids into the world of professional swimming. And Ayuko is too proud to admit that she may not be good at something. She's somebody who's very self-assured and very self-confident. And so it doesn't occur to anybody to question her teaching methods. Things kind of come to a head where Ayuko challenges Golden Boy to keep up with her while swimming, and Golden Boy is able to. He's able to keep up with her, even though she's a world-class swimmer, and even though he's only been swimming for a short period of time. He essentially beats her. We never actually have the race. The race is encapsulated in that challenge she gives to him. And it's at that moment when we realize that the episode really isn't about who is the better swimmer, it's about who is the better teacher. And then after Kintaro succeeds in going the distance with Ayuko swimming, she then learns of the different swimming methods he was using, using games to acclimate the kids to the water. And then she has an epiphany that the way she was approaching swim instructing wasn't necessarily the correct way. And once again, I feel like that's reinforcing that idea of challenging the status quo you've set for yourself. You've set yourself down this path, but really you need to diverge because you're getting too narrow in your thinking. And I feel like that's what the show is about. It's a show that's trying to tell people you may be happy in your life and you may think you have things figured out, but really you need to think outside of the box. And the road less traveled is probably the road you need to travel down. I really like the character designs in Golden Boy. I think Tatsuya Egawa has a really great style. It's almost like a late 80s, maybe early 90s Playboy aesthetic, where his girls aren't overly busty, but they're slender and they're very curvy. Their tits are all kind of like perky and bouncy, and they all have these like long legs, and it's a great art style. It's a really sexy, cool art style. And I really wish there was a Golden Boy calendar. That would be awesome, to have a calendar with all the babes of Golden Boy that you could look at every month of the year. That would be awesome. There has to be one that exists. If there isn't one, there totally should be. One thing I was really surprised to find out was Kosuke Fujishima, the creator of Oh My Goddess, was actually an art assistant for Tatsuya Egawa. And it actually makes complete sense because when you look at their styles, they're actually very, very similar. I mean, especially like those little subtleties in the eyes. It's really interesting when you think about how influenced Fujishima was by Egawa. It makes you think of Oh My Goddess in a whole new light. The last episode of Golden Boy is actually a really interesting episode. It's the one episode that is not adapted from the manga. It's an original episode made for the anime, anime, and it is very meta. I mean, it's almost like Otaku no Video, where it's an anime episode about anime. And if it wasn't evident enough, this episode was supposed to be self-referential. Tatsuya Agawa himself cameos in the episode and plays himself. So there's a lot of meta-narrative going on. And the one thing I really loved about this episode was the fact that all the different girls from the previous episodes come back. And that was really great, because if there's one thing that kind of disappoints me about this show is that I feel like you don't get to spend enough time with the female characters. I really wish instead of being 6 episodes, this was 24 episodes long, and each story was like a 4-episode mini arc. That would have been really cool, especially the first episode. I think the first episode is really cool, and I think that would be a great series. I would love to see a series of Kentaro working for this software company with Madam President and all the chicks in the fucking company. Like, that would be such a cool show. God damn it. You know, I'm totally stealing that idea. That's an awesome idea. If you had this fucking super hot chick who's the president of this software company where all chicks work at it, and then there's the horny janitor dude, that writes itself. I really wish they kind of expanded on that. And I love the fact that the characters returned in the last episode. It does bum me out though that Kentaro never gets laid. He never gets laid in the TV show. He gets laid in the manga, but it does bum me out that through the entire course of the show, he has several opportunities to get laid. He obviously wants to. He's trying to get laid. But then when the fucking, opportunity presents itself, he fucking leaves. Like, what the hell is up with that? That really bummed me out. The last episode, where all the chicks show up, was the perfect opportunity for a giant orgy where Kentaro gets to bang every single one of these chicks. That would have fucking ruled. I really like the opening of Golden Boy. It reminds me of the opening to a Sega CD game. I don't know why. It has that kind of 90s Sega CD feel, but I like the music. The theme music is equally parts generic and memorable. Once again, it has that kind of Sega CD sound. It looks like the opening FMV to like a bike racing game on Sega CD, but it's a really cool opening theme, and I think the animation in it is really awesome, and it does a really good job in sort of capturing the kind of like youthful, vibrant energy of the show. It's a really cool opening sequence. Now, I said before that Madam President was my favorite chick in Golden Boy, and that is true. Madam President is awesome. In fact, not only is she my favorite chick in Golden Boy, I would put her as like one of my top 5 favorite anime babes of all time. Madam President fucking rules. Can't say enough good things about her. But it does beg the question, okay, who is your next favorite girl in Golden Boy? And that's a hard thing to pick because there are plenty of awesome chicks in this show. There's Naoko, the sexy schoolgirl. How can you not like her? Ayuko, the swim instructor, is awesome. You can't get enough Ayuko either. And that episode had some great crotch shots. But if I have to pick one, if I have to pick a second favorite to tie with Madam President, I would have to pick Reiko. Reiko is my next favorite anime chick in Golden Boy. She is fucking awesome. She rides a fucking Bamata Tessie 1D. And not only does she ride that thing, not only is she a badass fucking motorcycle rider, but she also uses the Bamata as a vibrator to masturbate to. And that is fucking awesome. And like that whole episode, the 5th episode of Golden Boy, is a fucking tour de force. I mean, I think the first episode is my favorite Golden Boy episode, but I actually think the best episode is probably episode 5 because it is so fucking crazy. Like the twists and turns it goes into, where it starts off with Golden Boy working for this kind of wealthy Japanese family in this very traditional house, and then we find out that the daughter Reiko is secretly racing her motorcycle down the mountain path, and then Golden Boy follows her, and then he sees her masturbating on her bike, and then she tells him that if you can catch me on my motorcycle, I'll let you bang me. Like, that shit is fucking awesome. Like, in a weird way, the 5th episode of Golden Boy is this weird combination of like the Bubblegum Crises anime, where it takes parts of Revenge Road and it takes parts of The Man Who Bites His Tongue. And it's like, and it puts it all in this kind of very kind of irreverent, like sexy, fun episode that is really cool. And like, who could not relate to that? I think we could all relate to wanting to bang Reiko, and we would all race our bikes to catch her to do it. In fact, I wouldn't even race a fucking bike. I'd run after her in my fucking sneakers to catch up with that chick. She fucking rules. Reiko definitely up there with Madam President as my favorite anime babe in Golden Boy. Now, I do have a lot more to say about Golden Boy, but I don't want to go too much further right now because I want to get into the manga. You could look at this as a introduction into Golden Boy and the Golden Boy series. And when we revisit the series, we're going to do a deep dive into the Golden Boy manga, and we're going to revisit all of these awesome characters. But in closing, my final thoughts on the Golden Boy OVA is 10 out of 10. Awesome anime, awesome chicks in the show, sexy anime, fun. I can't say enough good things about this. This is my kind of show. Golden Boy, awesome. Classic of the anime genre. This week's question comes from Gundamus Prime, who asks, what is your favorite era in mech designs? That's actually a pretty hard question. I think I could make a whole video dissecting that question. I think there is, when we're talking about different eras of mech designs, I think there is an inclination to just assume that there are two eras of mech designs. There's the big blocky 80s mech designs that you see in like Voltron and the Gundam series that came out in the 80s. And then there's kind of the like slender, skinnier mech designs that you see in the 90s with Evangelion. But I actually feel like that's not the right way to think about it, because really all eras of mech designs originate from the 70s. The 70s for mechs are kind of like the 1930s for superheroes. Every single superhero design that exists today, you could trace back to the 1930s. And I feel the exact same way with mechs. Every design we see today can be traced back to the 1970s. And I do think you could probably put mech designs into two categories, which were like the big battle robots that you would see in like Mazinger or the original Gundam, or the armored knight like Tekkaman, you know, the mech suit that's a little bit more form-fitting to the body. I mean, I guess to answer the question, I would have to say the 70s is my favorite era of mech designs, but I also like that simple look. I do like the look of the original Tekkaman. He has this kind of like tokusatsu feel where he does look like a dude in a costume. I mean, I really like Tekkaman Blade, and I think Tekkaman Blade does have a little bit of that kind of like dude in a suit kind of look, but even though he is more like mech'd out, he is a little bit more refined as like a battle robot. I mean, Tekkaman Blade is almost like the mixture of the armored knight and battle robot. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Jesus. I could go on forever. I mean, I think the 70s are great. I love the battle robot design of Gundam. I'm much more partial to the kind of armored knight mech suit design that you would see in Tekkaman. And then I think it's done really well with the Night Sabers and Bubblegum Crises. So yeah, those are my answers. 1970s overall, great mech designs. In terms of like, do I like the big battle robot or the armored knight? I like the armored knights, I think, the best. But hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Gundamus, for sending in a question. If anybody else has a question out there, or wants to complain about something, or you want to make a suggestion, or you just want to tell me whatever, you can send a question to studiochojin@gmail.com, make the subject RAW, and I will read it on a future edition of the show. If you've sent in a question already and I haven't read it, I promise you I will get to your question. I'm going to read everybody's question. So that wraps up this week's edition of Studio Chojin Raw. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to implore you to join the unholy army of the night. I want you to subscribe to the channel, and if you can, support the channel in any way you can. You can like the video, you could leave a comment if you're so inclined. I have a Ko-fi account and you can donate to help the channel keep going. You could even send positive vibes. I would appreciate anything you can do to help the channel. But yeah, so thank you for checking out the video, and once again, this is Reverend Paul saying until we meet again.